So sometimes things don't go as planned, and I have to rip something up that I'm not happy with. This was a little sampler board that I was working with that I tried putting paint on the back, and it just muddled the colors, and I didn't like what I did, but I don't want to throw the beads away. I want to salvage what I had. So what I do is I always keep a set of these chisels in my desk, and they come in various sizes. I have some big ones and some little ones. And for this piece, I'm going to use the little one because it's smaller and these little edges need it. But all I'm going to do is take these up, and I'm going to put them in a little container. Then I'm going to pour hot water in them and let them sit, and let it sit as long as you want. It can be days. You can leave it for a few hours. And then it's going to be a rinse and repeat scenario, but it's going to allow me to salvage the beads as well as reuse the board. So this is just something that takes a little bit of practice and time, and it has to be worth your time. Sometimes if the beads get stuck onto the acetate or the foam, you can just use the edge of the chisel to get them off. And see, this is bringing the paint and the beads up. So that glue really does stick to everything on the bottom. This is what we're getting. Yes, the beads are going to be mixed up, and you might have to resort them if you want to separate them out later. That's completely up to you. But this process is something that I go through every once in a while, not all the time, but I am, I try not to waste too much. Now, 1 or 2 beads doesn't bother me, but this is a whole bunch. Plus, I liked the background. I liked the trees that I put on there, but I want to redo it. And so I'm just going to be taking all of these off, and then I will show you the rest of the process as it comes along. So getting started is kind of hard. You want to use the edge of this to poke underneath, and then just start lifting little by little as you work, and then just take it and peel it off. You want to be careful that you don't go too fast, because you don't want to run it underneath the foam, so you don't pick the phone up. You saw what happened right there, but I'm able to stick that back down. And if I need to, I can re-glue it later, but you want to be really careful. Plus, these chisels are sharp. Be careful with your hands. You don't want to hurt your hands. So try not to keep your hands in front of the chisel, because sometimes it gets away from you like that, and then you'll end up hurting your hands. So be very careful with that. The beads that are stuck on the top, you can also scrape them off very gently, and they will come off, and then you can just kind of shake everything in there. This isn't a pretty process, but sometimes you just got to do what you got to do. And I'll take my little scooper here and scoop these babies into the cup. Okay, now I went ahead and made this go faster just so that you can watch the process, but you don't have to watch every minute of it. But I really want to encourage you to be very, very careful. Chisels are made for cutting, and so getting your fingers in the way can really, you could seriously take a finger off. So be really careful with these. Take your time with this. I know by the time you get to this process, you're frustrated and you're angry because it didn't work out, and you're trying to figure out what else you want to do, or you know how to fix it and you're anxious. But just take your time. And then when this is completely cleaned up, you can also repaint the background if you want, or you can not paint it. The boards that we have on beadmosaic.com are melamine coated, and so they're pretty tough. When you do this type of thing, they don't get harmed as long as you don't dig into them. But you want to do some cleaning up and scraping as much as you can, being, again, very gentle so that you can salvage that EVA foam. that you're working with before we get to the rinse off process with the beads. Okay, so now I'm just going to turn on the water as hot as it'll go. The hotter the better, because that'll help loosen up the beads. And then I'm just going to fill it with water like this, and I'm going to now let it sit for a while. And it'll take a few hours to start loosening up, and we're going to repeat this process like 3 or 4 times to get all those beads cleaned up. Okay, now that your beads have soaked for a few hours, the glue will start to loosen up, but you are still going to have to work with them a bit. So what I'm doing here is just, it's really a rinse and repeat process, and it's loosening up the glue that is surrounding the glass. And you start to see those little white speckles coming out. See that I'm pouring off the top. Now the great thing is the glue is lighter than the beads, so they will float to the top. And again, you're using hot to warm water. Don't burn yourself. But right there, as they're, you see how they kind of get stuck to stuff. And yeah, my sink is full of beads. That's just how life is for me. Yeah, just keep rinsing and repeating and rinsing and repeating, and eventually they will come out clear. And like I said, you can sort them when you're done, or you can just use it as a new mix, which is what I tend to do. But do this until they come out clear, and then just lay them out on a towel and let them dry, and you'll have your new clean beads back.